Please state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Aleya Kassam.
And this is the first time this project is taking place in Africa. What enticed you to be part of this cross-cultural collaboration between three nations using the performing arts?
I mean, it is so enticing to be able to perform and connect with creative practitioners and audiences from three different continents, even three different spaces. It's super exciting. I certainly don't think I've participated in something like that before. And as a performer, you know, especially a stage performer, where you are in that moment is who you are performing for. And here's something that allows you to kind of expand that out and really be in really intimate spaces with audiences that you wouldn't normally get to encounter. So I'm really excited about that.
Speaking of spaces, theater for one, two mediums are merging together, screen and theater. What are your thoughts about that?
You know, it feels like it's time for these two mediums to come into entanglement. The thing that I really love as a performer is intimate performances. And when you have a stage and you have distance, physical distance, and then you have a big audience, it's harder to form that one-on-one connection. Here, you know, there's so much expansion of form. So I'm sitting in my space and I get to have this experience with somebody else who might be sitting in Abu Dhabi in a very intimate way. And that really is made possible because of the screen. Many other virtual platforms don't allow for that sort of eye-to-eye connection that is magical. And that's what Theatre for One does in a way that is going to, I think, blow your mind.
What is your act about, and why should we not miss it?
Well, you know, how does one refer to this? When the pandemic began, I guess, I remember really thinking that we need to be listening to voices that are not being listened to about how to navigate this time as humanity. I remember sitting, you know, thinking that we should be listening to our ancestors' voices because they certainly navigated these times. And that actually the answers don't necessarily come from the places that the world tends to look. You know, and in the same vein, I think we need to be listening to the voices that aren't necessarily human, the voices of other beings that we share this earth with. And that's what my piece is about, an interview with a jinn, which is to say that we aren't the only ones who inhabit the earth, and what can we, if we listen to them, what do they have to say to us? What can we learn from them? How do we navigate our relationship in this earth together? I will say, come prepared, because it is going to be an experience.
According to you, what is the Kenyan theatre scene like, and what changes would you want to see in it?
The Kenyan theatre scene is incredibly inventive. There's sort of micro communities that exist all over. Perhaps I should speak to the Nairobi theatre scene. I think there's a difference between the Nairobi theatre scene and the theatre scene outside of the city. And I think it's interesting that communities have formed around the type of theatre that's being staged. There's really a lot of people playing around with original stories, different styles. There's a whole kind of revival around musical theatre. What does a Kenyan musical theatre piece look like? And what are the ways they can look like, I guess? There's definitely a resurgence around storytelling. There's theatre in different languages. It's it's really awesome. And I think because the industry isn't as kind of rooted in the same way as it is in other places, it's allowing for a lot of play. What it needs is investment and support. Because the audiences are still forming, because we don't have the same sorts of art structures to support the creation of the work and the building of the audiences. It just means that practitioners are doing many things. Writers are performing, and they're marketing, and they're doing logistics, and justice isn't being given to any, and the same kind of justice isn't being given to each of those roles. And so really it's going to take investment.
What other work are you involved in the said contemporary Nairobi creative scene, and what other work do you do as an artist?
So for a long time I've been involved in the literary scene and the theatrical scene, and really a lot of my work has been around creating and also enabling and curating. I currently am the co-founder and the A in the Lamb Sisterhood. We fill the world with stories for African women to feel seen, heard, and beloved. We work with story in many different forms and genres, and we're really interested in expanding the ideas of how stories can be told. As an independent practitioner and creative, I work in poetry, in essay, in plays, in film. I follow my curiosity. Yes, I feel like I said everything before. I'm like bored of it already.
You talked in your previous interview, you talked about the book.
Yeah, do I need to say it again? I should, right? Okay. So I actually have several projects on the go. Being a creative in Kenya means that you often don't have the luxury of being able to sit in one project at a time, but you have many things happening all the time. So I have 2 musical theater projects that I am involved in. One is with the Lamb Sisterhood and musical collaborator Wanja Wahoro, telling the story of Field Marshal Muthoni wa Kirema. And the second musical theatre project is in collaboration with musicians Eric Wainaina and Rushabh Nanda. It's called Pani Puri. It's a big, wild musical about a brown-black love story. It takes place over the course of one night at a wedding, and it begins with a kiss, and then everything goes wrong from there. I also have a young adult novella that I've been developing that I'm revising, and I'm putting together a poetry book for my little nephew. And the project that I'm currently immersed in this moment is a one-woman stage show that really kind of explores I suppose the relationship between being a Kenyan of Asian descent in this country. I call it the makeup album. Anybody who understands, Kenyan history, the Asian community in Kenya have been, for a long time, accused of, and rightfully so, being very insular. And I'm really excited about kind of inviting people into our world, and also sharing our vulnerabilities and our ugly and our beauty, and repairing that relationship.